going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the James Lab Podcast. Today, our special guest is Mark from Greenshock Farms. He's a good friend of mine. I've done some pheno hunting with him. I was up and checked out his property this year. He's an award-winning breeder. He grows the best outdoor in California, in my humble opinion. I feel like his is the best by a scale of certain degree. You know, I feel like yours is on the scale of outdoor growers. Yours is on a whole nother level. It's almost hard to quantify. I feel like it's as good, if not better, than most of the indoor that I see today.
That's an honor to hear you say that, James. I work really hard on this flower and the breeding part of it and the growing part of it and everything. And to hear you say that, somebody that loves cannabis like you got me feeling real good. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you gifted me some of your flower. It's just, you specialize in something that's so unique. And I feel like more people should go in that direction. But it's also one of those things that it might not be the popular thing now, but it's going to be the thing that real connoisseurs will always gravitate back to, which is gas.
Yeah, I've never been a trend follower. I just do what I feel like doing in the time and space, knowing that you kind of want stuff that's outside of the trend too, because not everybody's looking for what's in that trend.
Right.
So being in your own lane, I feel is like an important thing as a breeder.
For sure. I feel like it's just part of you. It becomes part of you. It becomes a reflection of you, all these different things. But yeah, I feel like genetics as a breeder, it's a reflection of who you are, right? That tells the world who you are. And long after you're gone, those genetics are probably going to be passed around, bred with, and that's your little thumbprint that you're passing on to the rest of the world. And why not make it a part of you and pass on a part of you to everybody? That's what I love about this plant is like, we become part of the process and we also become part of the plant and part of the identity that we're passing on.
That's an interesting thing there, James, because as breeders, we take a lot of twists and turns as we go through this after 30 years, a lot of different flavors, and you find stuff you really like and you go after it and you get tired of that one. You go after something else. Sometimes in the process, you're kind of coming up with brand new flavors that have never even really been seen or had at times. And
and sometimes you might never see them again. I mean, they're accidental and they disappear just as fast as they came. And it's a live, living thing. And it sometimes takes a mind of its own on. And, I believe that there's certain aspects of destiny with this plant.
Well, that's for sure, because a lot of times in certain projects, you're going after something that you think you're after in smell, flavor, effect, and it ends up being completely different and better than you could have ever imagined it to be. And that feels like those moments where it was just meant to be.
Yeah. Sometimes it feels like the plant is in control. It's pretty wild.
I think it is in control.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're just stewards helping this plant move along, and it helps us in so many ways too. It's a beautiful symbiotic relationship that we have with this plant. And it's mutually beneficial. I mean, I think the plant makes the world a better place. And I think it also makes us a better place. And we can, if we use intention and quality and good interests in mind, I feel like we can improve the quality of the plant as well.
I believe you're right about that. You're right. It does make a better place. I feel too, and this culture and this plant are all over the world right now. And this world's a kind of funky place where it needs some help. It needs a little enlightenment and consciousness and stuff brought into it. And I think this is the perfect time as this really comes out and being able to share these genetics and things that are coming from California, but originally they were from all over the world,
right? And
getting them back out there after doing our little work we do to them to make them our own. I feel like I'm in an amazing spot to be able to help the world in a real way. So many of us as humans wish we could help people in different ways. And sometimes some of us find ourselves in positions like this where you're really able to help a lot of people and it feels amazing.
Yeah. Well, we share DNA with this plant. There's very similar things that have happened to this plant. Just like us, we've gone all around the world. We've bred out of our land race varieties, and it's like cannabis is now doing that too. And it's really it's an amazing thing on so many levels that we're able to be a part of it. With the infancy of or the re-infancy of legalization, it's on the horizon. You have a licensed farm in Grass Valley, and to be able to do this and from the legacy market where it was illegal to doing it now, it's changed so much too on so many levels. It really needs people like yourself, to be there, that were able to be there in the legacy, that were able to identify what the plant was, fall in love with the plant, and then to be able to take it to that next level now that it's going legal.
Yeah, now that hits home to me right there because like coming from legacy, I started about 94 in growing, and being able to see those genetics that were back there. I was in Southern California, but being able to see these different genetics and realize what the potential is with styles and different kinds of profiles and things just allows you to really know the possibilities of what's out there to breed.
Totally. Well, and like for me, myself, I love sneaking stuff back into people that they wouldn't necessarily like if they just knew it by name, like Blue Dream. And then we've got Dream Candy, we've got the Loud Dream 2.0, and they're very much like Blue Dream. I'm just representing them and representing them to the world in a new package, but it's something that's been around a long time. We're not completely reinventing the wheel by any means with the breeding work that we're doing, but we're able to present it in a new way, in a new light, with our own little touch on it. And that's kind of the coolest thing ever, in my opinion.
Yeah, all these little twists and turns, they just sometimes there's subtle little different effects and things, but it's cool to experience all the different aspects of it in different ways. So like, I love taking very popular strains and just barely tweaking them up a little bit just to give little different vibes and stuff out of them. No, it's great. Blue Dream too. It's funny how, once something gets really popular sometimes, and then it falls out because people kind of get tired of it. But some of these ones like Blue Dream myself, over in Mendo, I guess that was probably about 2007 or 8. I started really seeing a lot of the Blue Dream, and I fell in love with it for like 6 months. And then I didn't have it for years and years. And then now I've started getting a little bit again, and I love it. I love it again because I just hadn't had it for a long time.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful plant. It has hybrid vigor like nothing else. Literally, there's no plant I know that has hybrid vigor that produces the colas, the inflorescence that it does, the buds, these amazing, beautiful buds. And you could, I used to have a saying that you could shit in the reservoir and still get 2.2 pounds of light. 2.2 isn't what it used to be, but that would be like saying you get 5 pounds of light now, Yeah,
outdoors, over in Grass Valley area, kind of like Smartsville, Penn Valley, the kind of hotter regions down there, those plants sometimes were absolute massive Blue Dreams. It could be 10-pound harvested, dried weight, 10 pounds of flower on those things. They are a vigorous, really beautiful plant to grow.
When they call them trees, that's what they're talking about.
Yes, sir. Those are true trees.
Yeah.
It's amazing how fast a little tiny plant can become one of those trees in one season. That's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. So with your breeding, you kind of have a very unique style of your own that I feel like, you've really taken it to that next level. It's very conscious, the stuff you've been doing. It's very obvious when you look at your genetics, when you walk the field, when we walk the field together, when we're up at your property, you could really kind of see the story unfolding as we were walking through. Okay. And for me, it's like, okay, now I know Mark a lot better, right? I know Mark, this guy with Awesomine and Greenshock Farms go hand in hand for one thing, but your field, it tells a story of who you are and a lot about you. Some people are all over the place. They're doing so many different things, but for you, it's like nose burning flower was the biggest thing. And it's so nostalgic. And most people don't see nose burning flower at all anymore, and it's like, I had a guy the other day who loves sour diesel. I'm not going to mention his name because he told me not to, but literally I had some of the Roll Pros joints from your Frank Hill, and they were rolled up, and I handed it to him and I told him, try this sour diesel out. He smoked it and got a big smile on his face and said, this is the best sour diesel I've had in 20 years. And it wasn't sour, but it had that nose burning gas that I think the world is kind of missing. And there's a huge demographic of people that are in cannabis that have never actually tried the real sour diesel or that real nose burning gas that we got to experience a lot when we were younger.
Yeah, I can remember when I was younger, in those mid 90s, kind of seeing these OGs starting to appear about 98, 99 down there. Yeah. And then the skunks. I had a really amazing collection of skunks that came from Cincy Seeds. Yeah. It was like their 95 and 96, 97 super skunks. And
those were good years for Cincy.
Oh man, those were good years. I wish I could, get them again like that. So I was aware at that point in time by seeing one of those nose burning skunks of what the potential can be. many years I went without really having those. And then I think it was around 2013, 14, 15 that I started coming up with some lines that were just really would express in such a loud way. And you'd show them to people and they'd really blow people away when they'd open that jar. You know, you'd see their effects just like, wow, just like I haven't smelled something like that almost ever.
Yeah.
Once you start getting those in the collection, you really can't go back to where you were before because you have these amazing flavors and the effects of them are generally even more better because they're so terpy and stuff. So it's like you don't work backwards as a breeder generally. I've noticed you kind of are always moving forward and trying, and you're learning a lot through the process. So you're getting better and better and better as you're going. And so now, yeah, we have an amazing lineup of that nose burning stuff. And if something doesn't hit the nose like that, then that's like one of my, I just doesn't get chosen no matter pretty much how good that plant is. If it doesn't pop on the nose, then.
You literally have stuff going in so many really good directions that are all nose burning, you know, and all really, really loud terps. And I think that people are just missing that these days. So many people are missing the mark on that loudness, especially with outdoor. Not that there's a lot of good outdoor out there, but it's just missing. That's missing from the 90s, right? Because we got to a lot of this stuff. It was super loud. I mean, I remember when outdoor was more expensive than indoor, right? There was times where like outdoor, like this outdoor that you're growing now would be more expensive than the indoor in the 90s. You know, it's just without a doubt. And I feel like someday it will go back to that where people are paying more for organic. They're paying more for the best outdoor or as much for the best outdoor as they pay for indoor. It's easier to grow. There's all these things, but I feel like you look at produce, the most expensive produce is organic. It doesn't look as beautiful necessarily, but there's something about it. And with cannabis, at least it has an effect.
Yes. I got to witness this down in Southern California there in the mid 90s. You know, I was growing up in the mountains.
Right.
Kind of just out of Orange County up in the Santa Ana Mountains right there is where I spent 12 years guerrilla growing up there. And so that community that I would bring it down to was the Inland Empire out in Riverside and then Orange County itself. And some of it would make it up to Hollywood, but they'd never really seen that kind of organic outdoor grown flower before. So like, it was interesting to watch it and the way it would catch on because it was a lot of BC hydro stuff that was coming into the marketplaces down there. You know, you would have your own local hydro guys kind of growing indoors too, which had some amazing stuff.
Right.
But when they started seeing this and like once you get experience with smoking clean outdoor organic cannabis, it's so smooth and flavorful when you kind of smell or taste some of these other ways that people grow it. It just, to me, it didn't have that same feel and effect and taste and smoothness.
I agree 100% on the effect, especially. And one thing I really enjoy about smoking, like Dave from Budgelera, he's another one that grows it, and I smoke his specifically for the effect. Even the stuff that looks really ugly, some of it just gives you an amazing effect. Just like your stuff, I feel like each one has its own unique effect, but a lot of them are like uplifting and they're strong, but you have this clear high with them too, where it's not like this debilitating where you've got real tight eyes and you just want to go to sleep. A lot of them are very functional, but you can smoke them and they're really strong as well.
This is part of the fun of developing your own line. You know, as a breeder, you're kind of going after things you enjoy and love yourself when it comes to effects and flavors. So I breed for myself, really. It just turns out that, you know, a lot of people also like those same kind of smells, flavors, effects, and stuff. But it's kind of neat because to me, it's like a toolbox, having like a medicine chest of like morning stuff, you know, this type of stuff for this, bedtime stuff. So different flavors kind of go towards certain things. Like I like the bright and cheery osamine type of thing right there in the morning time, daytime stuff. And then you transition into those heavy caryophyllene type of things like the double lanterns and stuff towards your evening time. Or if you just want to chill on a rainy day and not do anything, but to have all these different selections is really fun. And like as one thing as a breeder right now, you know, I've got some breeding partners that I work with at times, and one of them's Micaiah, and Micaiah's got Abacaba heirlooms up out of Oregon, and he has a THCV plant called Sunny V. And so I grew some of the Sunny V this year. We did some breeding with it. I didn't get around to smoking it till just about 2 weeks ago. And I kind of have a little mental block in my own mind sometimes about certain things. Like I'm like THCV, like, man, that's not what I'm really used to. I just want some, but I tried it. And that thing was an amazing daytime morning smoke. It's pretty dang strong, it turned out. It's 14% THCV, 14% THC. And so I smoked that, went outside, walked up towards my greenhouse, and I got, next thing you knew, I looked at some quartz was on the ground right there. I got all into the quartz, checking it out. And then I saw where it was coming from in a little seam of the rocks. And I was just like all locked into this little moment and looking at this rock. And all of a sudden I realized like, whoa, I am ripped right now. And it was just a total different effect of a high. It really got my daytime started really well. So that was kind of a fun thing to now bring into the collection for more different types of smoke.
Nice. Yeah, really cool. So you won first place at the state fair for Awesomine. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. And let's talk about Awesomine for a little bit. For those of you that don't know about Awesomine, you want to describe Awesomine and kind of how you've been breeding towards it.
Yes. Okay. So my purple candy cane, this is back in 2015, 16 at the Emerald Cup, got a second and then a third place. So I had something special with that cut. I figured, why not breed top awarded strains here if you can get your hand on them just together. It's all really good stuff. So I was aware of Derek Anderson there, that he kept winning with that In the Pines.
Mm-hmm.
And I had some Mean Gene's Pina plant. So I just decided I'm going to put these two flavors together. I wasn't breeding at the time for Awesomine. Matter of fact, back in that day, you were just kind of starting to see the terpene thing kind of start coming out. And
right.
Awesomine wasn't one out there much. It's so rare. I'd never seen it myself. But it turns out by putting that Pina with the purple candy cane, next thing you know, we developed that tropical sleigh ride line, which ended up going to win the 2017 Emerald Cup Highest Terpene Award. Also a most interesting combination of terpene cannabinoid, which was Awesomine CBG. And so just kind of out of nowhere, this is what happens by trying stuff. People ask me a lot, like, well, my biggest thing in my life of breeding is trying and working really hard and being dedicated towards it,
Right.
And then through that process, you never know what happens. Magic comes out sometimes.
Yeah.
That was an example of that because Tropical Sleigh Ride won that highest terpene award, 4.87% terps on it. But it was Awesomine, and the Awesomine level on that particular cut was very high at like 1.47%.
Wow.
And so to get Awesomine above 1% in the flower is like kind of unheard of.
Yeah, it's an anomaly. Yeah,
exactly.
It's very rare.
At the state fair, generally our passion orange guava, which comes out of the Tropical Sleigh Ride line, will win Awesomine generally. We've won 2 golden bears there, and then this last year we won the gold medal.
Right.
There. And it was kind of cool for me looking at that because I'd heard the awards just came out. So I pull them up on my thing and they got outdoor listed first. And so, you just want to see one of them hopefully make it.
Yeah.
And so I scroll up first one, Mendocino Greenshock Farms, then Myrcene Silver Medal Greenshock Farms, then Caraphyline Gold Medal, Caraphyline Silver Medal Greenshock Farms. And it was just like, I was elated by,
you had a productive year.
Thank you. We try, it's all about, I work so hard. We dedicate ourselves so much towards this plant.
Right.
It's good when you get results because it re-energizes you. It lets you know you're on a good path.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I feel like we could go back to the things that are special about your genetics that I can appreciate. And I feel like you don't limit yourself to just one type of gas. A lot of OG guys, they just want OG gas. A lot of chem guys, they just want chem gas. And you have like this plethora of gas. And it's almost hard to fully describe, where you've got gasoline on one hand, you've got rocket fuel on the other, you've got this very much OG piney gas on some of this stuff, that really lights up your nose with citrus. And it's interesting because you're the first person I've ever met that has like this arsenal of gas, as opposed to just like, I'm a chem guy, I want that burnt tire, because a lot of the chem guys love that burnt, like chem and sour have that burnt tire. And then you get into OGs and it's more like that nose burning astringent gas with pinene. You got the pine and the citrus. And then we've got Mark here in the middle, who's kind of gathered stuff from all these things and has this unique collection of gases.
Thank you, James. Yeah, I feel we do. It's the first time I think in my own life of seeing different people's collection that I've ever seen anything like this myself. Like,
yeah.
Sometimes when you come up with some special stuff, and these genetics, they're not necessarily coming out of a pure OG Kush type of line. What this stuff is coming out of is the Green Lantern, that Jason at Ridgeline won the Emerald Cup in 2019 with.
Right.
The Ostamine, the passion orange guava that year, got second place. And but they liked that Green Lantern a little better.
Right.
I was able to get a hold of that, and then Rebel Dan, his double OG Kim. You know, I was aware watching him win the awards with that down at the Emerald Cup in Hollywood. He gave me a pack. He asked me if I wanted FIMS or regs, and I asked for the regs, please.
Nice.
Then that got put on the Green Lantern, and then some Long Valley Royal Kush that I'd been working on for a couple years. Also a nice dank purple kind of one.
Yeah.
Went into those collections. And next thing you knew, you ended up with different gas profiles coming out. And like, you know, during selection, when they're like that, they're all so good. You're like, man, I like this one. I like this one. And yeah, they're different from each other. And that's what's a good thing about this gas line is it presents a lot of different options for gas smokers to go with, whether you want straight gasoline, whether you want that gasoline kind of rotten, dead roadkill carcass I was talking a little bit about, kind of mixed into it, and all the different funk and twists and turns that gives, you know, body odor.
For sure. There's BO and there's skunk in there too.
Exactly. And all the twists and turns and the way those flavors kind of bind and meld together. I'm loving so many of them. Yeah,
it's really interesting. And I feel like so many people just need to try to experience this for the first time, especially the guys that love candy gas, especially the connoisseur guys that are like, I love candy gas, or I like a little OG, but I like the candy gas. It's like some of the effects of these, especially, you know, if you want some of the stronger stuff, I feel like there is strength behind it. It's just like with outdoor, you get a different effect than you get with indoor. And it's a very clear high. It can be a very productive high. You're definitely high.
Yes.
But yeah, it's pretty wild. And then you got a pineapple skunk. That's another, it's got a loudness to it that's very unique. It's like loud, and then you squeeze the bud and it's like, whoa, that's intense.
Yeah, that one was funny, James. You might remember over there when we were walking the pheno field of like that was supposed to be in the skunk gas zone. So you're going through smelling these body odors and skunks and this stuff. And all of a sudden that was something that got pollinated by a little male pollen flying around that hit that skunk gas that wasn't supposed to or I wasn't aware of.
Right.
And so that one just popped up on its own, being different. And it was so fun going through there and smelling the skunks. And then all of a sudden hitting your nose to that. It was like, whoa, what is this?
I love that though. I love the loudness. I love when it just comes across and it's like not muted, because I think a lot of stuff is muted these days. And, you know, and that's why Skittles is so popular. It's really high in terpenes and it's really loud, right? Really bright and loud. And, you know, and you can kind of get that in any direction. You go citrus, there's lemon. We got the lemon. There's lemon up. There's a bunch of lemons that are popping up that are very loud. And, you know, Tangy was a loud citrus as well back in the day. I ain't gonna hate on Tangy. There's some people that aren't fans, but man, that was like one of the most award-winning genetics that ever was.
I loved Tangy. You know, we know OG Steve there, and he let us run his Tangy one of the years about 6 years back, and that plant was the flavor of that thing. How spot on of a tangerine blood orange thing that is. Yeah. I love that plant.
Yeah, his cut was pretty special. Yeah, him and his group of friends, they found a winner in those packs. You know, the DNA had the Clementine and Crockett. They had some really amazing phenos, dude. Don't get me wrong. I love just pure Tangy. The ones that they were entering in the cup was pretty special. And then OG's purple. Yeah, OG Steve and his purple Tangy, man. That was like literally he had an orange van, and I believe his license was Tangy Man.
Yes, I think you're right.
So, or orange truck with Tangy Man for the license. So yeah. Good guy. Made the strongest edibles I've ever eaten. I don't like his edibles because they're too strong.
Yes, his wife can really make some amazing edibles. That's right.
Yeah. They crush it on the edibles. I mean, 500 milligram and 1,000 milligram edibles are just too much for me.
It's funny. You're bringing that back to my mind right now. I'd forgotten all about those things. I had some 350 milligram bars he gave me, and those were a little over the top.
I still might even have one in my freezer just because they're so strong. And it's like, I don't, you know, what do you mind just going to eat the corner of the bar? You know,
if you're smart,
yeah. You know, I'm not always smart, but you know, those I got to be careful with edibles these days, man. They're just so strong for me. Especially, I'm fine with 10 or 20 or even like up to 50 milligrams, but that's usually my cutoff these days.
I took 10 milligrams just now before the podcast to just kind of be chilled and kind of relaxed and stuff. And it kind of, a small dose gets you a little more talkative sometimes. So
Yeah.
worked perfect too.
Nice. I do a little microdose myself.
Perfect. Why not?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So Bobby passed away on Saturday from the Grateful Dead. And, you know, I think he meant a lot to so many of us. His music will live on forever. You know, he made the world a better place in his own way. And, you know, I feel like the world needs more Bob Weirs in their lives.
And very good point. That was a sad morning to wake up and see that. For some reason, over the previous 6 months, I've been watching a lot of videos of Grateful Dead, especially him later here right now. And I loved his look of that gray beard, that special stash he had going, and the way he was dressing and stuff. It kind of looked like almost like a ghost, or he was kind of dying, like almost kind of gave a funny death vibe on it.
He's probably the musician that's played the most live shows ever. You know, if not he's one of the throughout history. You know, I mean, he played till the very end. He played live. He loved his live shows. You know, it took me getting used to John Mayer, but then, you know, I think because Bobby loved him so much and he's so talented, it really worked with Dead and Company. I really enjoyed. I saw him I saw his last performance. I was literally 15 feet from the stage the last time he played.
See, that's something I can't say. I never got to see them play. I missed this summer's event, which we're actually part of the Garcia Hand Select line that they launched there. And I just can't believe I didn't make it. And, you know, you guys that were on the tour and got to experience that, like, I'm very jealous of not having ever got that experience, because when I hear you guys talk about it, it was such an amazing community thing, traveling around like that, and to see what it did for cannabis. Yeah. You know, when we talk about the Chem 91 and stuff, these are strains that came out of the Dead Show, bags of seeds and stuff. So.
And that's just the one that gets talked about the most. Exactly. So many genetics got spread around the United States on tour. You know, it's like the best stuff too. Because, you know, the stoners, like we're talking about real stoners, people that love to smoke. That's how it got around the United States. People that said, I don't give a fuck, I'm bringing this with me.
Such a big part of the culture. And to see these guys kind of leaving the earth at the moment, but their spot here is already done, like what they've contributed for all of us and what they've done for music and people. It's just their footprints alive. I'm just super honored, because they also just picked the skunk gas to be in the Hand Select line, which Soulful does for them and runs for them and chooses kind of the strains. I think Jerry's daughter helps to choose the strains somewhat too, which the connection for us to be able to kind of come and be a part of that on a little way in the cannabis end. Like I was really dwelling on that the other day. It made me feel really good.
Yeah. I mean, your genetics smell like they're right off a dead lot. So that does make a lot of sense. You know, and Bobby, he didn't believe that this is the end. He said, death is a reward for living a life well lived.
I read that the other day. He said he was actually somewhat looking forward to death. And reading that quote, and I thought about that, and that statement's strong.
Yeah. Well, it makes you want to work harder. It makes me want to work harder. I feel like, you know, my job here isn't done yet. I still have a lot to do. I love doing these podcasts. I love being part of the community in my own way. You know, and it's like, I think we're all just here to be part of this thing that's so much bigger than ourselves. And when we can do it in such a positive way through genetics, you know, through cultivation, through being able to share, you know, I do genetics, but you do genetics and you're a flower producer in California that produces some of the best stuff. You know, I think these are all blessings. We all need to be extremely grateful for what we have the ability to do. Like, we couldn't do this 20 years ago.
No, that's, as I watch this legalization thing come in, you know, I started off excited about this thing, and as it took a lot of farms out and it just was off to such a rough start and everything, it went through a couple of years here where I've just been kind of really down sort of on the way this transitioned. But, you know, it takes time for things to work themselves out. And now I'm realizing, by having gone through this transition and now we're in a legal kind of market area, and the potential that we now have to be able to share our genetics and get them out there with like the whole world. You know, we couldn't even stand behind our genetics years back, where you'd get busted if you were putting yourself out there like that. So
you had to change your name. You couldn't go by your real name. You know, I mean, that's just the reality of it. And that was only 15 years ago.
Exactly. So to now come through that from that and then go through this kind of rough phase, but to now see the potential of what's out there
Right.
is super exciting all of a sudden again. Like this last 6 months, just realizing we're going to be able to share these genetics with all over the world. We've been seeing people, we've had groups out from last month was from Ghana.
Yeah.
And, they're going legal there in Ghana. They're going to start with the medical program, and certain groups are getting issued licenses and stuff. And we met with one, and these guys were an amazing group. It was a father, son, uncle, and their concept of what they want to do, I really love, because, they're wanting to do some of their own landrace stuff that's coming from out in those areas, and then kind of mix them into some of this stuff that we got here in California, and then grow them out over there for the European market or even for the African market that's opening up right now. And to see all this stuff happening in different places of the world right now just gives me a lot of hope.
Absolutely. Well, I think you just made me think of something really interesting, but I feel like your genetics isn't diluted by some of the modern day genetics, like a lot of other people that have bred a lot of, not there's anything wrong with gelatos and cookies and stuff like that, but you don't see a lot of gelato or cookies in anything that you do.
No, and that's something I'm proud of. The marketplace, like you said, that's a very popular thing in the marketplace. I love a lot of those strains myself. It just turns out that's not really my lane that I've come into, because I'm trying to usually create things that are outside of that popularity box for people to experience things. To me, we got this endocannabinoid system, and if you're hitting it all the time with the same thing, it's kind of dilutes down a little bit where the system's really used to that kind of thing, and it doesn't give you a rare or different effect. Where sometimes if you hit yourself with a brand new strain, like I did it this morning, you have something that a little sample I gave you of what's called the Pink Rider. And it's a pretty and pink strain, I call it. It's an old Jack skunk strain. And we crossed it with Tropical Sleigh Ride. And it's a terpenylene osamine combination for the two top terps, which I've never seen that before or something.
Me neither.
And so that was grown on the Mendo farm this year. And so first thing this morning, I was putting together some samples for you, and that was one of them. And I hadn't smoked that this year. I'm going through so many strains, a lot of stuff gets left out sometimes. So I see that thing and I smell it, and it's like a strong, straight citrus grapefruit. I'm like, man, okay, I'll smoke this thing. Wow, I got absolutely ripped, like behind the eyes, and just that you feel that like red eye come on so fast. And next thing you knew, for the next hour, I was like, wow, I'm amazed at what that thing just did to me.
Yeah.
But I think it was because it was something I'm just not used to or haven't consumed before. And that's the first time you sometimes smoke something like that, it hits you hard.
Yeah. Your mind and your body's going, like, what is going on here?
Exactly.
So we got some history. Like we met through Angela Baca. I'd known about you before as the guy who grows the giant plants, right? And then Angela was like, we need pictures of plants. I know how to get a hold of Mark, and I think we should have a phone call. And so that's how we met originally, was in the process of me writing my book. We include some of the photos of your plants. You were known as the guy who grows the giant plants in Mendocino when you were in Mendocino not so long ago.
Yeah. We do that kind of as an honor and tradition to Mendocino, because in 1996, when the medical thing kind of came about and they can only grow 25 plants, they learned how to grow them really big.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a Mendocino tradition. It's not the easiest stuff to sometimes work with, because you got these giant plants. They're more likely to get fungal diseases, different things as they are in the soil like that. And they're just so big, and their stalks start splitting and stuff apart. And so they're tougher to grow, but it's a fun thing to grow. Generally, we do always a little section like that just for the tradition of it. I'd worked with the boys up there, Mendo Dope, for a number of years, and the boys were known for growing some absolute monster plants in their yard.
They got songs about it.
They sure do. Yes, they do.
Great guys. We've had them on the podcast too. My podcast list is getting smaller and smaller and smaller of people in the industry that I need on the show. And they were on the show. Love both the guys. So
they are all about dedicated to the plant. They love this culture like nothing else. And the culture is another interesting part of this whole thing. We've had this strong cannabis culture, and it's kind of like weakened through the events over the last years, but it's still out there. Yeah. And it's cool to see them support it and be such a part of it. And I got to tell you, James, I've been watching a lot of these podcasts, and you've done a tremendous job on behalf of a lot of us of getting different types of information that I feel is really important for the marketplace to start seeing. And one of them recently has just been this outdoor thing and letting people know how spectacular some of these farms can produce outdoor flower.
Yeah.
It's something that people don't generally know that, and it's going to be neat for them to know that towards the future. They may want to try some and find certain farms they really love. And
I hope.
I do too.
I hope. And I feel like looking back 20 years from now, I'm going to be like, I told you so.
Yeah.
You know, and
yes.
I really feel that deep down in my heart that this turn of events that led us to this place where outdoor was the cheapest of the cheap, this isn't going to last forever. And it doesn't make sense. You know, indoor was a byproduct of the plant being illegal. If it wasn't for it being illegal, we'd still be growing outdoors. Right. And so, yeah, we have this beautiful, amazing stuff that's grown indoors, and I love indoor, but there's still something special about sun-grown flower. And I feel like it doesn't get enough credit where it deserves it.
Yeah, it's an amazing product, especially in certain environments. Like up here in Northern California is probably one of the best regions in the world.
Yeah.
To grow outdoor sun-grown cannabis. And, you know, to me, you look at these wine grows up in Napa that are so beautiful with the oaks and stuff all surrounded them. When I'm drinking wine, that's like half of what gives that I love is just knowing that these things were surrounded by oak trees and they were in these amazing soils and stuff. If I saw them growing in an indoor set up in some grow bags with wine, it would be a real turnoff. So
yeah,
me and the way that cannabis can express itself outdoors, you know, I think sometimes, like you were saying, it has a different kind of a clear sort of style high to it, very much energy in it, very powerful. And that depends on certain different growers that grow it. Like everybody
Absolutely.
somehow inputs go into this thing where they have a big effect on how it comes out on the end, whether it be the highs and, you know, even the cure jobs and stuff.
Well, and I think outdoor has a longer high too. And I don't feel like you get the same kind of crash you do from some of this strong indoor. I feel like it's more, you get more of a stretched out high. It's more, not always more functional, but most of the time it's more functional. But I feel like the effect, you don't crash from it the same way you can do from really strong indoor. Even dabs, even hash made from outdoor, I feel like it has a different effect than indoor hash. Not that there's anything better about one than the other. It's a preference thing. It's very subjective to the individual. Some people love that indoor, but anymore, hash is being produced more and more outdoors. You know, rosin especially. Rosin, you know, people are growing specifically for rosin varieties for fresh frozen. The majority of that is going to be done outdoors. You know, we got Dave from Preferred Gardens. He's kind of up by you, and he's doing mixed light, and he's winning awards against indoor with it. And so people are understanding the value of the sun more and more. It's just, it's going to take more years, and that's okay.
Yes. Like even like examples with the Emerald Cup, you know, over those last few years when they were kind of doing the best overall in show, like the boys, we were just talking about the boys, they won best of show with that Hetty OG against the indoor and everything. So that won the best of show. And those judges, as you know, at the cup aren't messing around. So that's a real good sign. And, you know, for the indoor thing, I don't want to hate on indoor at all. It's, I also have grown a lot of indoor through my life, and it's a beautiful product, and some of it can come out just so incredible too. Some of it, same thing like outdoor, it doesn't come out incredible, very salty and just kind of weird.
Yeah.
But just in terms of sustainability and everything too, you know, that indoor takes a lot of energy use. You see electricity prices, everything skyrocketing these days. That doesn't help the situation when possibly 2% of the grid is running indoor flower. You know, it's that heavy of a tax on the grid because it takes so much power, and there's so much of it being grown across the states now. That's just something to be aware of too for consumers. And, you know, as this market goes forward, I think it'll start figuring out, as we're able to share this type of product like you were talking about, that's really at top level, as people are starting to be able to get that and compare it against their indoor and stuff, I think that'll start changing the marketplace a little bit. We just haven't had the opportunity to really get it out there in front of people's faces. And outdoor has a really bad name through the years, generally because, you know, there wasn't hardly any love that was really getting put into that stuff. People were growing it for money, basically. Some of us grew it for other reasons, but a lot of it was just for money. And so the curing processes, the harvesting processes, the whole thought process in general, just made for a very mediocre product because cannabis is delicate. Like,
well, most of the indoor flower is garbage. Most of the outdoor flower is garbage, but there is amazing indoor flower, and there is absolutely, whether you've seen it or not, There is absolutely amazing outdoor flower that rivals and can compete with the best indoor, in my opinion.
I know that because, I've grown all the ways, and I consider outdoor growing more of an art kind of a process. You have to make a lot of decisions through the process and things, even down to where you want to choose to grow it climate wise and things, strains, all this type of stuff. And so it's more challenging, but for the people that have put a lot of time into it, you learn through these challenges and you adapt and you figure things out, and you get to a point where I guess you could become a professional basically at it.
Yeah.
And, I'm not worried too much about seasons, what happens during the course of the fall harvest. I'm not afraid of rains one bit. They just make my plants more clean.
Yeah.
I like the way that the water actually sits on the flower, like on cold nights, and makes it harder, tighter. I think the flavor gets expressed a little bit through it because of it. And I think it's a good thing.
Well, you can say that because you're from Grass Valley. You can't say that from everywhere in California, but definitely Grass Valley is a unique place. I had a friend, Gene West.
I know Gene.
Kick-ass Farms,
man,
right?
That guy's hilarious.
Yeah, that guy's wild, dude. Yeah, so he's a good friend of mine. I haven't seen him in years, but it's almost like no time passes when I see him again. But he's quite the character. But he was doing stock splitting in Grass Valley. He was reversing the magnetism of the water. Yes. And he was basically watering from above the plant in the morning, and then he would reverse the magnet. It was both of it was reverse magnetized water, or the magnetism was reversed on the water. But then he would water from underneath the canopy to cool it down in the afternoon, and he would have these pretty massive plants. And the stock splitting would basically, it's like how we like to super crop, or when we top, it basically tops the plants, divides the amount of colas, right? And so basically you're getting more branches. He was doing some wild stuff, and this was literally 8 years ago.
I got to see Gene I didn't get to see him this last summer, but the summer before that I did. And the summer before that, he got me all fired up on the electromagnet stuff there. He had shoes that on the bottom had metal to connect them and ground them to the earth, to this electromagnet field. Yep. And it was very intriguing. And to hear his passion about it really was something.
He is super passionate. He used to be a Marlboro man, for people that don't know Gene.
Yeah, he did.
He was a Marlboro man, yeah. And I mean, he's a model, and amazing, passionate person who's also one of those people that doesn't want to be the smartest people in the room. He wants to work with the smartest people in the room, and he's very intelligent in that regard, and able to pull information and put all this stuff together in a way that worked really well. He's not in the industry, I believe, anymore. But, he's one of the unfortunate casualties of the commercialization of our product and our plant.
Yeah, a lot of the right people that should be here aren't here anymore just because of the struggle that came in here. And it was a heck of a time period. A lot of us, this really crashed hard on a lot of us. I was myself way too enthusiastic and had way too much projects that I thought I was going to be able to bring in, right, where I had to let a lot of things go. And, that hurts as you're letting dreams and visions go, but there's not much of a choice about it because money runs out through the process, and that's what keeps you going funded wise, help, labor, all the projects. So once you run out of that, you got to start making decisions on downsizing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we've downsized. We cut our grow staff in a third of what we had last year. Right. But it is what it is. Times are tough. You got to run lean. I got to do more work. I got to be in the rooms more. I don't mind. I love it. I love the fact that I'm here. Yeah, more than anything, I love the fact that I'm here. I love the fact that I'm here today on this podcast, being able to do all this stuff. If I have to work harder, that's the sacrifice that I have to make to be here in this industry. And I love that.
Okay. Well said right there, James. Yeah. We had at one time, I was just really looking forward to sharing this California terroir and showing how these same strains can be grown in different locations and kind of come out different. Right. So I had 5 farms going in different locations up here in Northern California. And then now we're downsized to just 2 farms. We got the Mendocino farm and the Grass Valley farm. And I love having those 2 farms to compare things to, as I'm kind of developing strains. We run a lot of the stuff in Mendo, especially if we're worried about it being mold prone or powder mildew prone, because that area really attracts that stuff over there. So having these different, it's fun to be able to have the nursery breeding pheno hunt thing. Right. And then to be able to move those into production and small production lots to get an idea of what it's all about, how it's flavored, figure it out. And so that for us has become a model. We pheno hunt, breed, pheno hunt, bring that stuff into the market. We choose and select very carefully. Like this year, out of the 400 plants, I think I'm going to have about 8 of them that I put down there in the field.
Wow.
And then we'll try to win awards with them. And then when those hit, then we use our tissue culture partners, which are Zenetics and then Segra International up there are 2 main partners. And then now we're looking forward to being able to take it from through that process to the awards and then into the marketplace for all the world to be able to consume and enjoy.
Right.
That's what feels amazing about this legalization moment, is to be able to like put the authenticity as to how the process all happened, what it is, to the marketplace, and then being able to share it worldwide. This is an amazing opportunity.
Totally. So with Mendocino and Grass Valley, what are the difference in the climates?
Very similar. To me, you got, I've had the fortunate ability. I started growing down there in Orange County in the mountains. I went into San Diego County. I went to Riverside County. I went to San Luis Obispo County, Santa Barbara County, then ended up in Sonoma and Mendocino, and then Humboldt, and then over in the Sierras over there in Nevada County, and then Calaveras County. So I've been able to see a lot of the different kind of climates and terroirs here in California. And the 2 best of them, I love this 39 degrees north, 38 degrees north line here, because both Mendo and Grass Valley are right on that. You're not too far north where you start getting into the really nasty weather and you get the daylight all of a sudden going down on you so fast, like up in Washington. You don't have that happen quite as fast at that line. But you do get a good veg. Like further south, you don't get quite as much of a veg because you're only 32, 34 degrees north and the daylight's not quite as long. So it's kind of this area up here in NorCal and Grass Valley. That's about as good of a climate as you can possibly have for growing cannabis. When it comes to the terroir stuff, the mountains, the trees, the brush, it kind of tells you a lot about the area you're working in. So over there in Mendocino, we're at 2,400 feet, coming up off of Fort Bragg up into that coastal mountain range right there. And you got big giant firs, and you can see that area gets 90 inches of rain a year.
Wow.
Over in Grass Valley, you saw it's a dry kind of area with a little bit of manzanita, chaparral, some smaller blue oaks, digger pines, no big firs, very low humidity, a lot more hot. So it's a little more forgiving in Grass Valley, but in Mendo, the potential is there. There's something about humidity and the amount of humidity in the air, especially during that harvest time, that does cannabinoid development, where the glands can get a lot bigger. If you're in certain kind of higher humidity environments, like I'll give the Central Valley as an example. If you're down there in the grassland and you're in a very dry environment without the humidity, the resin glands and everything are much smaller resin glands. The whole vibe of the flower is not quite like it is once you get up into the chaparral belts and the mountains. Sometimes you can get a little too far up in the mountains, perhaps, but some of these guys like Jason at Ridgeline, he's up there right behind the Kings Range. Right. That's one of California's wettest environments. I think that Petrolia honeydew are over, there's like 110 inches, 119 inches of rain a year up in there. And he pulls it off with amazing flower.
Right.
Not just in the depths too, but on the straight outdoor. So, it can be done in the rains and stuff. It becomes very strain dependent. Once you start like challenging weather like that. A lot of stuff's just going to melt and mold on you, but there's certain strains that will perform right through it all with no problem.
Well, and being in those environments, that's the best way to test if the genetics are going to hold up or not. If it's going to have a tendency to be susceptible to powdery mildew and botrytis, or it's not. I mean, I feel that that's the best place to pheno hunt if you're looking for resistance to powdery mildew and botrytis, is environments that are definitely going to have it in the environment.
Yeah, if you find yourself too good of a location that doesn't have those things, then you might be putting genetics out there that you haven't really been able to put through that process of selection.
That's the problem with outdoor and indoor guys. Yeah, outdoor guys buying indoor seeds is they buy the indoor seeds where these guys made them. They didn't really test whether they can perform outdoors. And then we got an outdoor guy who's pissed because he bought the seeds and they're not performing how he hoped they would.
Exactly.
And it takes
my experience is like from outdoor to go from outdoor into indoor, like those stocky indica plants that we got up there, like those double lanterns, those will go into indoor, no problem. If they went through everything with outdoor and do that, indoor is a piece of cake generally. Yeah. So like you said, it's from my perspective, it's better to pheno hunt and grow them outdoors. and in an environment that has problems, so you can actually figure things out and breed around it.
Yeah, so I believe the seed production should be indoors or in an isolated environment where you can't have cross-pollination. Phenohunting should be done in the environment that the seed's going to be produced in, whether it's, if we were growing it for a clone, we want to take that clone and we want to put it through stress testing. If it's going to be stress testing indoors, stress tested indoors. It's going to be stress testing outdoors, stress tested outdoors. You can do both, find something that works for both, or you can go for the specific use that it's going to be used for. We're really diving into this specific use stuff with all these guys, specifically breeding for washers. I'm going to breed specifically for pre-rolls and joints. That's my goal for the next couple of years, is going for tissue type. I'm breeding for stuff that burns perfectly. You can get great white ash if you're growing it properly. And a lot of guys are like, oh, you can get that with everything. It's not true.
Yeah, that's an interesting. Yeah, you're right. It's getting that dialed in these days to where I hadn't thought of growing something or breeding something just for a pre-roll type thing, but it is that specific now. It makes sense.
Well, yeah, they have rosin carts, they have resin, live resin carts. There's stuff that people are breeding specifically for those type of plants. And then obviously washers. We start looking at all the different end products. They're going to be like high THC edibles, like people that don't care about the terpenes. They just want really high THC. So there's plants that are really, really high THC. There's a bunch of them out there, and we start looking for stuff for specific uses. And the further along we get through the adult use cannabis and the legalization of cannabis, we're going to be going in these different directions and really refining those.
Yeah, no, it's certain purposes of flower. Like that's something like from my own perspective is kind of interesting with these like real heavy caryophyllene strains, because caryophyllene is very muscle relaxing, kind of like inflammation, kind of like relaxing, where, a lot of us, by growing in the mountains all these years, I ended up with Lyme's disease.
Oh, wow.
I, have some problems with my bones and joints and stuff, kind of aching sometimes.
Aches and pains. And
sleeping can be a problem. And when you have something like the gold medal winner at the state fair this year was 1.87% caryophyllene.
Wow.
You put that together with that high terpene or high cannabinoid dose, and now you have some really amazing medicine that can really help you out. It helps me out a lot. So
right.
Looking forward to being able to share those type of things with other people too, whether it be for inflammation or even tropical sleigh ride. I consider that to be a very medical strain too, because, the amount of depression out there these days and just people not feeling really good sometimes, that just wipes that out. It takes away the depression. It puts a very positive spin on things. So it's like a very uplifting, neat experience too. So it's like another thing to have in that medicine chest.
Yeah, and I feel like you don't have to smoke a ton of it to get a lot of the benefit too. You can microdose it to a degree. People that don't, they want to smoke less of it, but really for terpenes, you got to consume it smoking it. So far that I've seen.
That's my preferred method. Is I'm a big bong hitter. I grew up in Southern Orange County and Capistrano Beach, Dana Point, San Clemente area. Like even as a kid, it was funny just to remember, like, you go out, do a little skateboarding session, you're going to smell weed all over the place down there. They were smoking weed like crazy down there. And it was mostly bong hits. So like I got into bong hitting, I love my joints and stuff too, but I'm a big bong hitter.
I love bongs too. And I have a big collection. I just last week, I talked about this with Barney about bongs from Green Dog, and I love bongs as well. I have a pretty big collection. He was smoking the bong under the table during the podcast because we didn't want to get flagged for YouTube, but like he's a big bong hitter too. Do you clear your rip? You pull it through every time? I
sure do. If it doesn't snap through, the effect is just not there. Like I'm so bummed when I pack one just a little too big and I just leave that little bit, because when it snaps through there, it seems like that really makes it hit harder. So I sure try to.
Do you grind yours up, or do you just put it in, or do you break it up with your hands?
That's funny you say that. Now it gets a little that's like when you're talking about breeding for joints or something.
Right.
I'm noticing I don't like the rock hard, super dense ones. I will grind those up a little tiny bit sometimes, or give them a few little cuts with the scissors to break it up,
right,
to expose that resin on it. But I generally like the little bit looser ones to really get that airflow going through that, to be able to get burned all that resin hard and fast and pop it hard, and it just hits harder sometimes that way. Those dense ones can sometimes, you can't take this bigger one.
Yeah, I like bongs. What do you think the perfect length is?
Not very big, because I don't like all the stale air in a bong sometimes.
Right.
So I like a little small, like 12, 16-inch one,
Right.
kind of thinner tube to not hold a lot of air in there too. And just simple little bong.
Yeah, I like the 1.5 foot. The 18-inch is my favorite. I mean, I think that's pretty standard. I probably have 15 or 20 of those. I've probably 50 total. And I have all different sizes and custom ones that I don't even take out anymore that I had commissioned years ago. But yeah, and then Barney was saying how when he's snapping them, like if they're really big bongs, he doesn't pack them so you have to fill the whole chamber up with smoke. He'll do it just so where you can snap it through, and then so where you're getting a good hit and it's good flavor all the way through. Because like those big bong rips, man, I'm too old for the big 4-footers. Because we had a 6-footer at one point when we were younger. We used to hit out of a 6-foot bong, which is kind of mind blowing. But like, and the 4-footer was pretty standard too. My buddy had a custom 4-footer that we used to hit off of.
Yeah, that's funny. You say those are fun when you're kids and stuff, but for efficiency and effect and everything, it's not really necessary. And I don't like if that initial smoke that comes in, if I don't breathe it in on that first hit, everything else goes stale in it so fast. I won't hit that. I'll just blow it back out if smoke remained in there, because I don't like the stale. That first flavor of that first rip is the perfect. I
love that. I love that too. When you can taste it through a bong rip, it's good weed too. Especially you pull it through and you're breathing out you're exhaling that OG gas or whatever it is.
Yeah, and when you got so many strains you're going through, trying to select things, you need to smoke a lot fast, and to take little bong hits off the selections is a lot easier than taking the time and rolling up joints on everything. And
we literally roll everything, because I want to look at the way it burns. And of course, I'm also breeding for stuff that's going to work really well in a joint, but like it is a good way to go through a lot of flower in a short amount of time.
And get down to that point where you're talking about. Then you can roll up those last final ones in joints and start to really figure them out. But to select down to that point, just bong hit them.
1,000 of them, no problem.
Pretty much. You should see my setup, man. When people see like my setup, I got my little chair. I got so much weed all surrounded by me. They're just like, what the heck is that one? That's my job.
Yeah.
It's like, I got to go through all this.
You take it seriously.
Yeah, I do.
That's the funny thing is like, we take our job seriously. People don't understand. It's like, not just as much as it is fun and it's part of a lifestyle. I would say most of us that are in this, that smoke, we're taking it pretty seriously.
Yeah, we're taking it. Yeah, if you put that thing out there and people don't enjoy it that's a big part of it. So we're professionals. We make sure it's an enjoyable, top of the line smoke to get it out from there. We're doing a lot of work for people.
Yeah.
Someone's got to do it. The heck out of ourselves.
Someone's got to do it. And it's not that bad of work. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Being able to smoke and knowing where it came from, knowing that it's clean medicine, all those things are great too. It's like, and there's just some joy that I take in smoking my own flower or smoking my friend's flower. It's like, I know that you took the care and attention to, that's why I've gone through like almost 2 pounds of smoke of yours since harvest, like literally in my lungs and shared with my friends. And I love that.
Yeah. That's a big reason why I started growing in the first place, is starting to recognize as I was smoking weed, some of this stuff didn't feel so clean.
Yeah.
Gave you headaches, this and that. And to know your inputs that are going into something seemed really important to me. So, and when I started growing in the mountains too, it's kind of funny, we did a lot of it with like Osmocote and, chemical fertilizers and stuff, just because couldn't get organic fertilizers out in the middle of nowhere. But I would sometimes start to bring some little inputs of guanos and things from my own little personal plants here and there.
Nice.
And to see the differences sometimes, like I really kind of recognize a difference pretty quick of like, yeah, that's the stuff that just smokes smoother. It feels more healthy to me and everything. And I smoke a lot. So you're going to want to smoke good, clean stuff when you smoke a lot. And then being able to leave those mountains and go up to Mendocino, I think that we ended up in Mendocino about 2003, 2004 up there. And being able to all of a sudden use pure organic inputs, because you can drive it right there in the field all of a sudden and just grow them like that without having to hike shit everywhere. And it was a really cool experience, because then we could get that kind of medicine out for the masses of people and just start sharing this outdoor thing and trying to get people like understanding of just how good and clean it can be.
It's pretty amazing. And all these little inputs make such a huge difference in the flavor, right? Like the effect too, but like especially the flavor. Talk about the guys, Mendocino Humboldt, we got guys that were using seagull shit and we got guys that use guano, bat shit. Right. And they have very distinct flavor to them. Like, and even the nose, you could almost smell in the nose And when you smoke them, especially, I feel like the guanos really have their own unique flavor profile. Same thing with the guys that used the Seagull shit back in the day. I don't know how many guys are still doing it. Let us know in the chat if you are, because I think that's pretty cool.
I love the Peruvian seabird guano stuff myself. That was been used all the way from the Aztecs and stuff down there for amazing farming. It's a little expensive, but it's a heck of a fertilizer.
Yeah. Really cool stuff. What is the biggest plant that you ever grew, weight-wise?
That, was about 9 pounds, of dried weight, outdoor style. They look, it looks like it's going to put off.
It looks like a 25 pounder.
Yeah. And, there's a lot left inside the plant. That was like 9 pounds of really good kind of top colas off the plant. And those plants would be, 12, 13 foot tall, 13, 15 feet wide.
How many cages?
3 cages a lot of the times. Yeah. You got to start with that inner one, then in the middle of summer, move out. And then before September into August, put that last one on to hold all that weight. They get so incredibly heavy, especially like when the rain comes and the plant does get soaking wet. Like we've had ones fall down before, and to try to like get this thing back up and situated is like, wow, this thing's like hundreds of pounds right here. So
when guys claim they've grown 20-pound plants, what do you think?
I've seen plants grown a lot bigger than the ones I've grown there that, are like the 9 pound or 12 pound thing or somewhere in that range. But I believe it, seeing some of the guys like Sticky Fields up there, Sticky grows some absolute massive.
Jesse's from here. He's a local.
Okay,
he
cool.
Moved up there. Yeah, Jesse grows some monsters. And, really quality flower. He's another guy that's just so passionate that needs to come on my podcast.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
He needs to come on the podcast. Yeah, I've been. There's an open invite for Jesse anytime. Sticky Fields grows some of the best flower out there. He's another one. It's like Sonoma Hills. I wouldn't say they have the highest yield by any means. I'm not sure what they're yielding, but they have the whitest ash of outdoor and the most interesting tasting flower that I've ever smoked. And I just got some recently. And Sonoma Hills Farms, big shout out to them. I was really just blown away by like the smoke experience compared to indoor. You get the whole experience that you do from indoor smoke with the chalky white ash. And I was like,
that's impressed. An amazing group of farmers right there. That's an example of a small group that is able to come together, and they got just about any skill they need in that small group. And they're very passionate about it. I actually had a call this last week with Joyce and Aaron about genetics and things, and possibly doing a little work with them on the Pink Jesus.
I'm the one who told them to give you a call, actually.
Well, thank you very much, James.
I don't know if I was the only one, but I definitely told them when I saw them about a month and a half ago to give you a call that I thought your genetics would work really well with what they're doing, especially if they're going to try to diversify with the Pink Jesus, because the Pink Jesus is pretty special.
It seems like when you have a farm that has something really special and unique like that, especially the small farms, you can make it to where that's really just what you're known for, kind of like Johnny up there with his whitethorn rose and stuff. I mean, you can just crush it with just having one of those types of plants unique to your own farm because everybody wants it and it's only there.
Yeah. And that whitethorn rose is special. That's a good one.
Amazing. The work those guys do, like those are I call them my breeding partners now because they're part of the Breeders' Council there with Genetics. And, we just had a call yesterday. Johnny and I were talking about, crossing up that whitethorn rose with the passion orange guava tropical sleigh ride line, just because we're not too sure what that would produce, but I'll guarantee you there'll be some phenos that come out of that stuff that are just incredible.
It'll be special for sure.
Something totally different.
Well, that's what I was thinking as far as Pink Jesus. Another direction you can go with crossing it with Pink Jesus would be really interesting, because I feel like there are similarities between the flavor profile. They're very different, but there are similarities in there. And I guarantee you there's some crossover with terpenes, but just overall experience and effect is very similar too. So
I got to say, I've never smoked the Pink Jesus. What would you describe that as?
It's got this, so basically it almost has this jammy, leathery flavor to it. It's really special. It's purple, obviously it's dark purple, but it has this almost like strawberry jam with leather, almost like a fruit roll-up. You know that smell of like a fruit roll-up where it's been dehydrated?
Made me love the sound of that real quick. That sounds great.
And it's really complex. So it's not just that, but it's this amazing flower. And It's funny because like they've dried and cured it perfectly. I see lots of flower from people. We test moisture content on everybody's stuff, and theirs was like right in the range. We have all this stuff for pre-roll, so we can test it all. So we're always testing people's flower, and theirs like really check the boxes as far as like condition. But it has this really unique terp, and the effect was really, really great too. I feel like it was one of those ones where you smoke it. And you could buy it for the effect or the flavor. It's on the level because they're both so great. But like literally, it has a little bit of an onset, not a full creeper, but there's a little bit of an onset to it where some stuff just takes you there and then it just goes down. This is more like a nice onset, and then you stay lit for quite a while, and then it's just a really gentle variety on the come down too, which I think that can be attributed to the quality of the grower and the outdoor and the sun.
Which they really know their growing practices over there, and just their inputs and everything seem to be very spot on.
Yeah.
Thank you for
French
having them call me on that, because I think we might have something in the works a little later on. It'll be fun to share
I would love to cover it. I would love to cover that because I feel like, guys, and Johnny's been on here too. He's another one. I feel like the best people should work with the best people, right? At the end of the day, I try to highlight those people in my podcast, but I feel like those people should all be working together. We're all trying to work together to make a better world. But like, as far as genetics, we can offer new genetics and share stuff with the world that the world's never seen before, potentially, or just a new version of it that's special.
Yeah, that's what it feels like being in this spot right now, and having these people as my friends and having these opportunities to bridge together and make something very special for the world together and just get it out there very authentically and everything. That's what I'm really looking forward to right now, as the next couple years start to develop and open up here.
Yeah.
We got my Greenshock, I call it my Greenshock Pheno Ranch, where, I'm inviting different groups there in September to be able to come and check things out themselves, for some of these different groups.
Right.
We were just talking to some guys back on the East Coast that have a really neat facility, and they're excited about being able to actually come right there to the Pheno Ranch, walk that with me, and be able to see what hits them as something they may want to take back home and grow with them in their facilities. And
totally
let this be a spot where people can come and find stuff they want to take back with them. Everybody has different, noses of what they like and effects. So let people come and pick them out themselves as well and go grow them. The story's kind of cool to connect it here with Northern California and the authenticity of the genetic makeups and stuff. So this is just something, there's so much opportunities presenting themselves right now. And unfortunately, so many people have fallen out of this. There's not a lot of competition all of a sudden out there at the moment. It's really interesting to watch guys like Johnny and Jason, Jesse, Aaron there, the Sonoma Hills Farms, and Joyce and Mike,
right.
And see these people. They have so much passion for what they're doing. They won't let it take them out, whatever kind of struggles they got to go through. I got my own personal stories of,
right.
Yeah, I've had to go through a tremendous amount of struggles these last couple of years. Would I change anything? Heck no. I'm in a good spot right now. I'm real happy to have worked through the problems. It makes the rewards that much better at the end.
Right.
And to see these people also, and we all know what each other are going through. So we're all kind of feeling united and stuff. You talk sometimes, which I really appreciate, the community starting to come back together.
It really is.
And
it
I
really
see
is.
it.
Terpenomy is a great example of the community coming back together.
That is
it was
the
so
funnest
fun.
show, man. David does a great job putting that on. That was a great vision. And yeah, getting to see you the last couple of years. This year was a blast there. I had some funny moments. One of them was, somehow Soma had come up. I think I was talking about a trip to Amsterdam I made in like 2001. And I was telling Eddie, his name's Eddie I.
Oh, yeah.
I was telling Eddie, Eddie, yeah, I figured. So I was telling him about, standing in this huge line there in Amsterdam in 2001 at the High Times Festival thing. And Soma had a line of 50 people, and he was smoking a hookah with a big old ball of hash with every single customer. So it's like a 3-hour wait to finally get there to get your seed packs.
Right.
And so my brother and I finally get up there and we smoke with Soma, and, we got some lavender, some New York City diesel, some reclining Buddha. Yeah. They all performed amazing when we took them back.
The Soma A+, that was my favorite of Soma's back in the day, but he had so many good ones.
He had so many good ones. All right. So Eddie tells me, he's all, you want to talk to him right now? He's all, I bet you he's awake. And so we go out in front there on the street in front of Terpenomy, and he calls Soma up and sure enough, Soma answers. Sounds like he's all cheerful and in a great mood. And I got to talk to Soma out there for 15 minutes, and that was really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, Soma, he's a great friend of mine, and I've known him for a long time, and just an amazing person.
That's what it seems like. I know he's getting older, but he sounded just as good as he did 25 years ago. And he was telling me he's very passionate about his breeding right now and telling me to go on his site, check out the new strains, which I did. And they look all kinds of cool stuff. I can't wait to try some of them out.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a character. He's a character, man. He's a really valuable part of this community too. It was built on characters like Soma, and so many others, the Somas, the Steve D'Angelos, the Ed Rosenthals, the Rob Clarks, the Dave Watsons, so many of these guys and Ben Drunkers, and the list goes on. We got Mila. We've got so many people that have impacted this plant, and the shoulders that we stand on, of giants that really came before us. And then there's even ones that came before them that we don't even talk about or know.
Very good point. Yeah, that's one of the cool things about this cannabis community too, is the way that they're so accepting to so many different types of people, and doesn't matter your background, doesn't matter your color, doesn't matter anything about things like that. It's just being a person and coming together with other people from different places. To me, that's one of the coolest things. Like when we were with the folks from Ghana, we were up there in Nevada City, and we were at the National Hotel. It was probably a really interesting looking group between us with them and stuff. And you could just tell everybody's looking over and kind of like probably wondering, what the heck are these guys discussing? Like, how do they know each other? And it's funny if somebody sometimes asks, it's cannabis. Cannabis brings everybody together from all over the world in so many different ways with very good, positive goals. To be part of this community, I wouldn't want to be a part of any other community, but this one is so special, really.
Absolutely. It's wild. It's special. It's ever evolving and changing. You never know what to expect, but like at the heart and soul of it, it has really, really good people, that really care about their brothers and sisters, care about this plant, care about the future. I think there's a lot of love in this community, and it's only growing stronger in recent years. We kind of I talk about on the podcast all the time about how we've kind of gone away from the cannabis community, where they went towards the commercialization of it. And now, because times are tough, we've really come back to the community, and you can see it at events like Canifest and Terpnami, and even things like the network show. I'm seeing this more tight-knit community. Even though there's commercialization there is this community of people that care, that are here for the long run, that are here for the plant. They love cannabis. They love everything about it. It's not a money thing, or it's not just a money thing, and we do need money no matter what. It's like we can't survive without money. So there has to be money behind it, and you could still be passionate and still be money driven at the same time.
Yeah, well, that's one interesting thing about the purge that just happened these last few years. You really start to see these people that were in it for money or not, because it was the people that were in it for money that bailed the fastest and first, at least on these small levels, without like big capital backing them and stuff.
Right.
And they had to bail. And so it's the people that really did it for the love of the plant, because there hasn't been any money in it for really a couple of years right now. So, you really get to see the people that wanted to push through this and get to the other side. And it wasn't necessarily about money, because there wasn't any in it, and there's still really, it's really hard to come by. So most of us are doing it at this point out of passion.
I think so. And I think there's something to be said for the people that are just out there making enough money just to stay in it. Right. And I think now is the time to do that. You just got to suck it up. And I feel like every day might be a challenge, but there's going to be a day in the not so distant future that it's not going to be a challenge just to survive, that you're going to thrive, right? If you stay in this, if you believe in it, because, there's people like the two of us, we believe in everybody else. I want these guys that have been here for a long time to succeed and win. It's not just about us succeeding. It's about our community succeeding and the heart and soul of this industry surviving.
Exactly. It's to be able to know these people too, like you do, have them on the show, for me to be able to talk to them, talk about breeding things. Like it's a very tight amount of people now. It's not like it was before, where you didn't know everybody. Everybody you know, or everybody you meet,
in this industry, especially if you're from California, you either already knew them or you know somebody who knows them. It's not just there's new people, there's people you don't know. If you're in this market still in California, everything is pretty much so interconnected. It's almost incestual.
Yeah. Yeah. I even know it's funny as, these last few years as it's come down and even know a lot of the big operators now. It's not just the small farmers now. It's just really not.
Right.
It's a small world in so many ways. There's not that many people really in it when you really get down to it, or at least people you want to know and associate with.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about your brand, because I love the brand Greenshock. How'd you come up with the name?
Thank you very much for asking me. Well, my last name's Greenshock, and I used to go sell some weed up in Hollywood to a pretty big time guy. And he would always he would say Greenshock in the house when I'd get up there.
Yeah.
And so I liked that play on the words. So it went from Greenshock to my brand's Greenshock.
Yeah.
And then, my brand's all about nature and trying to connect a vibe with nature to people, because this world's frantic and fast paced and you don't get a lot of time to slow down sometimes, especially in these big cities in California.
Right.
So to have these little moments where you just kind of take a load off your mind. For me, it comes out, I was telling you, all of our logos, I think I got 5 of them right now, all have California native plants. Like this is the Canyon penstemon or the Spectabulous penstemon, and it's got a little Anna's hummingbird on it. And those were moments from my past being in the mountains and growing. And, I'd camp for days sometimes. I'd be up there all by myself with not a lot to do sometimes. So I just try to enjoy what was going on around me and be a part of it all. And so I'd get a moment to smoke my little joint, and I'd be sitting on a rock with some cool flowers like a penstemon next to me and see that little hummingbird come up and pollinate it and drink and watch it fly around, and all of a sudden just put all the bad thoughts that you would have in your mind from different problems or whatever you're dealing with to all of a sudden just being very happy and positive. You just had this little moment of beauty happen next to you. So that's what our brand, I try to connect with people. It's just that little moment of getting to relax a little bit and think about good thoughts.
Yeah, so I really like the way your shirts fit too. I have my Greenshock shirt. I wear it on podcasts. I wear it at work. I love the way they fit. I like the way they feel. You guys, if you guys are making merch, remember, if you're making merch for your friends, make good quality stuff. If you're making stuff just to give out, I get it, but stuff to share with your friends, you should make good quality stuff. I'm learning as it goes, as I'm learning from my friends. I'm learning step by step from what other people are doing. We had cheap shirts originally because it was cheap, right? But it's nice having a shirt because people will wear it, especially if it's nice quality.
That's exactly what I was told through a promotion person we work with there, my friend Lindsay's mom, Linda there, and she was telling me how quality matters so much, with people associating things and
right.
And to get the Beefy Haynes shirts. So I got the Beefy Haynes shirts, and I enjoy them too. They're nice, comfortable
they're nice
shirts.
and thick.
And they don't wear out too fast. They don't fade too quick.
Right.
And it's fun. It's fun, getting stoned and coming up with your brand concepts and your designs and stuff. That's something that I've always really enjoyed and had a lot of fun doing.
Yeah. So what made you fall in love with cannabis?
Well, as I was growing up, I wasn't a big cannabis person at all. Matter of fact, I had an uncle. My uncle got in really bad trouble smuggling Thai sticks and ended up with a really big sentence. And this was when I was about 9 years old, 10 years old right there. Yeah. And so I associated in my young years cannabis with, problems. And, I figured that it must be terrible stuff if my uncle can have to serve 13 years in prison for this plant thing. Yeah. And so to me, I associated with problems kind of. And as I went through high school, I was around it. I never partook in it. And then when I got out of high school, I was in commercial fishing. I got into commercial fishing. I was around a weed a little bit, and I started to consume some. And it was amazing because this thing that I thought was so bad and just didn't have much positivity associated with it, all of a sudden I found out was one of the most positive, amazing things in my life. And that I found out I'd been getting lied to through propaganda stuff, and so I really gravitated towards it fast when I started to consume, which really wasn't until I was about 19, 20 years old.
Yeah.
And you know how that is, your first experiences and times, especially I'm somebody that loves being out in nature and being a part of nature, and the way cannabis connected me with all that. Right. I just fell in love with the whole thing. And I felt all of a sudden, I need to tell people about this. Geez, I got to tell everybody that doesn't smoke weed that they need to be smoking weed, and
totally.
I was able to start, I got into breeding right off the bat. When we got in the mountains there, I had a partner that kind of fell in line, helped us out. He was very familiar. He just gotten out of jail himself for growing a pretty large amount of plants up in San Luis Obispo Mountains. So when he got out, he didn't have a spot no more. We had some mutual friends. He came out and looked at my spots, which, I had really small and kind of contained. I was afraid of stuff, of course. There's a lot of paranoia with the helicopters and everything flying, and I wanted to get something off. So I just kept my grows kind of small. And it was kind of funny. Chris came out and saw my first spot. I had just packed out, like for 2 full moons, all this soil. And he's like, what'd you pack all this stuff out here for? Because it was pretty far out. And I was like, I need good soil, dirt, don't I? He's like, man, look at all the plants growing out of all this dirt around you. He's like, this is amazing dirt right here on the spot. And so I did my little experiment that year of growing my little potting container soil compared to in the ground. The stuff in the ground did so much better. It was just, I found out like, yeah, okay, well, I became an in the ground grower real quick at that point. Nice. And then Chris had a lot of amazing strains that he'd been collecting and breeding with, some Burma plants, a plant he called Hawaiian Joe that he got from his buddy Joe over in Hawaii. And then I went up to Canada and got some seeds up there. Then I went to Amsterdam, started bringing some seeds for us to kind of breed and start crossing into things. And I remember we started making our own crosses like second year in, and it was like some blueberry, some purple star, some twilight from Dutch Passion. We started mixing that stuff all together and finding these amazing plants. So like, it's kind of funny because breeding's got like a funny stigma sometimes. Like you got to really know what you're doing with this and that. But I had success right off the bat by just trying it and doing it.
Well, I think the genetics back in the day were a lot less watered down, and you were getting really distinct lines from people. Distinct crosses anyway. Maybe not full lines, but like really, especially Sensi had the most amazing stuff in the 90s. The Jack Flash is one of my all-time favorites.
I never grew the Jack Flash. I always wondered about that one.
That was my friend's mother and stepdad used to grow that one in Walnut Creek, California. And it was incredible. It's everything that you love about Jack. It's the best version of anything Jack that you'll ever see. It's not around anymore. I'm sure someone has a Jack Flash. I would love to get a cut, but that's one of those ones. It's like Sensi was really producing amazing stuff back then.
Oh man, they had a heck of a line. It was that skunk line of the Super Skunk, the Sensi Skunk. The Skunk 1 was nice, but it didn't have like the Sensi Skunk.
The loud skunk. Yeah.
I had one of them. It was the most amazing plant I've really ever seen still up until this day. The double lantern is very close to like the stickiness and the gunkiness of the old skunk I'm thinking of. But I had what was a super skunk. It was a 1996 super skunk. Mm-hmm. We'd crossed it with Twilight, which was a good thing I'd crossed it because it kind of helped to preserve it for some later finds in the next couple of years. But that original one that I wasn't up to keeping clones through the year and taking, but this thing, it would light on fire when you put it in the bong. Yeah. You could just touch the lighter to it and the thing would flame up like a ball of hash. And when it snapped through, it hit you in the lungs so hard. It was like an A-bomb going off in your lungs where you couldn't breathe. Yeah. For like, sometimes I thought I'm going to die or something. I'm like, I got to breathe. I can't breathe. And, and this flavor and just the nose burning skunk of that, I attribute that plant to a lot of my breeding because I'm always going for something like that. I know what the possibilities I've seen out there are. So it just always keeps you hunting and trying to find that kind of thing again.
Right. Well, so I learned some similarities between us just by doing a podcast with you. I got the name James Loud because I sold a strain called the Loud, and I used to take it to a house and started out with Mr. Loud, and the next thing you know, they were calling me James Loud, and then it totally stuck. Right. So that's
it looks great. Sounds great.
It's a good name, and it's like 2010. And it was a sour diesel spicy Jack that we called the Loud. And it came from my friend Micah. And so that stuck as James Loud. And then I was like Loud Seeds. I asked him permission originally to call it Loud Seeds. And then I ended up partnering with him down the road. But yeah, we started Loud Seeds like that. But my aunt went to prison for drugs. And so cannabis, I was told that cannabis was a bad thing from early on. And then she's one of the biggest reasons I'm here now. I lived with her when I was 17. Her kids lived with my parents for a little bit when she was in prison. And then I lived with her when I was like just a nightmare of a kid. And so I was like a 17-year-old kid, dropped out of high school, graduated. Got my GED when I was 17, graduated one of the top scores in Oregon. I think I was in the top 1% or the top 0.1 percentile of the people that took the test. But regardless, I lived with my aunt for a while, and she was growing weed, and she was growing organic weed. She's talking about organics in the 90s, and this is like 1994, before Jerry died. And so she always talked about positive about cannabis, and I probably wouldn't be here doing what I do without my experience with her. Also, the third thing, I worked on fishing boats.
Oh, wow.
So yeah.
What kind of fishing did you do?
I worked on the California Dawn, and I worked on the El Dorado 3 out of Berkeley Marina, party boats. I was a short order cook and a deckhand when I was younger.
Man, the California Dawn, that's a boat name. I know that was coming out of Newport Harbor for a number of years as a sport fishing boat there.
Yeah.
What I did was my father had a commercial boat there in Newport where he'd go out and catch anchovies and sardines for the bait receiver and for the little sport boats and stuff, and did commercial squid fishing out on the islands in the wintertime. And then I did long lining for swordfish and tuna way out in the middle of the ocean, and then up to Alaska for the purse seining. And I felt like I was going to get killed or injured badly doing it. Like after a few years, I had so many close calls. I'm like, man, I got to find something else. I'm going to die doing this.
It's wild.
Crazy
mine
work.
wasn't that wild. I enjoyed being out in the Pacific. I was a young kid. It was the perfect time to do it. I think I did 90 days straight at one point when for a small stretch. That was it though. At the end, I was like, I'm good after that. But yeah, and I was a short order cook on the boat. I'd bring my food, and I made good money. I made really good money working on the water, and it's like, filleting fish too. It was like, you can't beat that lifestyle. It's so simple and fun. And you're waking up early. James Smith, in my opinion, is the best, not commercial. He's a commercial crabber, and he's one of the best. But as far as party boats, he's the best captain out there. The guy always gets fish. He's well known. Everybody loves him. I dosed him with not mushrooms. I dosed him. It's the mushrooms that are talking right now. But one time when we were younger and I was bringing my friends on the boat, I had brownies, and I told him not to eat the brownies. I didn't tell him there were weed brownies. The guy doesn't listen. I used to be the cook on his boats, and he knows my food's really good. So he goes and eats one of the brownies. And we were going for halibut. We were drifting for halibut kind of by Angel Island. And we're drifting along, and I'm like, what is going on, man? Are we going to turn around? No one's catching anything. And all of a sudden, one of the deckhands runs down. He's like, you need to go to you need to go talk to the captain. I was like, what's going on? He's like, yeah, James needs you right now. It's like, okay. So I go up, and he's in the cabin, and he's sitting on the ground with his knees kind of up and his feet against his butt and his back against the wall. And I'm like, are you okay? What's going on? And he's like, was there something in those brownies? I'm like, yeah, there was weed in those brownies. Like literally there was weed in the brownies. And he's like, well, how strong were they? I said, they were really strong. Did you eat a whole one? He said, yeah. How long is this going to last? 3-4 hours. So we basically just stayed on the path for about 3 to 4 hours. And have a great story to tell about it. And I'm sure he still tells the story, and pretty wild. Yeah, I don't think he can get in trouble anymore past the statute of limitations.
We got to be careful with that stuff.
You get drug tested. These captains all get drug tested, and
those are good similarities right there,
yeah.
James. It's funny. I talking to Jason there at Ridgeline. So a lot of times I've noticed his priority, if it's not the weed, it is fishing. Like there was a funny meeting a while back. He's like, no, man, I can't make that thing. The albacore out here are chewing right now, and I got to get out there and catch more of them.
Yeah, he loves his fishing.
He loves the fishing. Sounds like the Canna Country crew with Teddy loves his fishing too. I think Reggie was talking about getting on a fishing trip coming up here sometime this next year. And I haven't been on the water for quite a while. Like once I got off it, I was on it straight for so long.
Yeah.
That I just was like overfishing for a while, but I got it in the blood, and I want to go do a little fishing.
I grew up fishing. My life revolved around fishing until I met my wife. Like literally my life was kind of fishing. Like I did other stuff too, but that was my hobby, was fishing, right? In martial arts when I was a kid too, but fishing was like the thing. I think I got 50 rods still, but most of them I haven't used in 20 years. I got gear for fly fishing. I've got gear for salmon. I got gear for, whatever kind of fishing you want to do. I got river fishing. I've got lake fishing. We got gear for catfish, and we've got gear for pretty much every type of fishing you could do. I think I probably got 15 or 20 tackle boxes that just don't get used anymore. It's really sad.
That was the way I was when I left that, but I picked up that new hobby I was talking to you about a little bit with metal detecting for nuggets in about the year 2000. And once it felt like I was like on a fishing adventure, but now I'm like finding sometimes pieces of gold.
Right.
And how fun those things are to find is like, it's really addicting quick.
Yeah, you find one or two and then you're totally addicted. Yeah. My friend Ruben, I'll have to show some pictures of Ruben's collection of gold. This guy's just killing it on a whole other, it's like a full, he's getting paid more than guys with jobs. Well, now the gold price is up to 4,000, and then some of these are 10x on spot because they're pieces of art.
I saw some of the pictures you showed me. Those were tremendous nuggets right there. And that's the fun thing about the gold too, is like from different spots, it comes out different ways. So it's all unique. And some of the spots, like with that type of gold, it comes out really crystallized.
Yeah.
The stuff in the quartz, it's really beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
It's incredible to be out there all stoned and high. And, I have a good understanding of how gold kind of got formed, came to the earth, all these different things now. And it's got such a crazy story to it. When you're out there doing that, and that's going through your mind as to how that nugget actually got there over like what would have taken like course of billion years type thing, just really puts perspective into things and how short of a time we are here on Earth. Because a lot of these nuggets won't ever even move an inch in our whole lifetime, but they've had to move so far to get where they're at. It's just like the time factor is really something with that.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's very meditative. I see Ruben out there getting his gold, and I'm like, man, I would love to do that. I think there's an art to it, but also it's like meditation, especially you smoke some weed, you get out there, you have a blast, and you might even make some money.
Yeah.
But also just being out there, being out in nature is great.
I agree. It was very meditative. Like when you're out there, you get your headphones on, you're kind of locked out to things. You're in a kind of an amazing environment, whether you're in the mountains or the deserts.
Right.
And you got that mission of trying to hunt down and find this gold. It feels a little bit like an Easter egg hunt type thing. And you're getting the exercise. So for myself, all of a sudden fishing, all these things just went out the window.
Right.
Because I ended up getting that doggone gold fever.
Yeah. And that'll do it. When I heard something to the effect that before the California gold rush, they had similar weather patterns to what we were experiencing in the last 5 years with the erosion and the land being turned up. And that's why guys are finding so much gold out there. Yeah. And it's a great opportune time because, it's like, I remember in my life when gold was the same price as weed, 400 an ounce, and now it's 4,000, it's 10X, right? So like, should have bought more gold and should have bought more silver, because literally a couple of years ago, silver was $17 an ounce and it just hit 90 yesterday.
Yeah, it's silver is an incredible moment right now. It's 90 here in COMEX and it's like 115 over in Shanghai. The stuff's like real different parts of the world right now since Christmas are all of a sudden different prices. Something's a little suspicious.
Well, so the funny thing is I've been predicting this for years and now I don't have any silver. It's really sad. But I've been telling people they need to buy silver. They need to buy silver, that it's going to go up because the price of gold and the price of silver are totally tied in together. And it traditionally sits, a 17th of what gold is worth. And so as gold kept creeping, I'm like, silver's going to hit. And dude,
we got something else in common then. I've been that person telling everybody for a long time too, to pick some of this stuff up, this is going to be a good buy. And then most of mine all got stolen through some different things through the years. So here I don't even end up with having hardly any myself.
I feel you. Similar story. I had mine taken.
But I also put myself, like you said earlier, ultimately, I'm just glad to be here. It's amazing to be alive and on this earth.
We're here still, man, this is pretty incredible.
Exactly. So that's all. If I got my life, I'm all good. I may not have a lot of money or this and that, but that don't matter that much if I'm enjoying life.
No, and money is just a tool. For those people that think that life is all about money, money is a tool to buy freedom, right? At the end of the day, you're trying to buy freedom. Money is a tool to improve your life in certain ways, but the value of money is in its use and not in its possession.
Yeah, it's amazing to watch how many people, Americans in general, somehow work their whole life so hard and put everything into these retirement programs. Mm-hmm. And then, next thing you know, they're 70 years old and they're still putting money into that stuff, and you got a very limited time while we're here. So like I personally like to go kind of hard, and I'm going to die with not a lot of money, and that's fine. I'm going to use it because money's good to use through the course of life.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I was also, you talk about people retiring, and I see this older generation, the baby boomers retiring and then dying within a couple of years of retirement. It's like, so you worked hard to save up all this money and then you die and don't get your opportunity to be able to spend it when you could have invested or you could have used it and maybe lived a little more free.
Yeah, I'm very conscious of that fact, having watched this. I got one old time kind of mentor friend of mine that, he lived the way I kind of want to live. He lived hard and fun. He had a race car team. He had all these different things he did. He's getting older now and he doesn't really have much, but he's done so many things to make his life rich.
Yeah.
That's how I want to kind of spend my time with money, is just using it. Like you said, freedom. It's nice to not have a job you have to go to necessarily and take away that time out of your life for that job. And you get to do what you'd rather do during that time. So money is a wonderful thing to have, but also, for my own self, it's kind of funny. I recognize money's sometimes not the best thing for me to have a lot of, because it takes away from my focus on projects sometimes, like this last 5 years, not having any money and feeling like I have to go burn money to spend. I'm just able to relax and chill and really focus on my work, because money makes it feel like sometimes I got to be out doing stuff and spending this money. But when you don't have it, you just focus on what's at hand. And it's actually been probably a good period of my life to kind of go through.
Your priorities change.
Yeah. You say something I've heard on the last few shows with, the distraction thing and the focus. That's what this is about, especially like when you're really working hard on creating stuff, is you got to be very focused. You can't mess around and screw things up. You just focus and you get there by focusing and just dedicating your time towards what your project is. And that's when really great things can happen.
Yeah. And, I think when you're running really lean and you don't have a ton of money, but you're still able to put in the work, there's not a lot of room for error and making mistakes, right? So like that helps keep you sharp.
Yes.
Right. Just like, I feel like intermittent fasting, I do intermittent fasting now, but I feel like I'm more sharp when I'm not eating all the time. Right. So like if I'm on a calorie deficit, I definitely am doing better than if I'm eating all the time. I'm more sharp. Even when I'm hungry, you get over hunger.
Yeah. It's funny how much time in my life, like that's my one thing that I got to stop my breeding projects for all the time is go make some food. I like to eat pretty well and kind of like I enjoy cooking and stuff. So, but it takes a lot of time, I'm a single person, and like by the time I've done cooking morning breakfast and then got to come down for my dinner, it takes a couple hours of the day up.
Meal prep,
exactly.
I do my meal prep. Yeah.
Get stoned, and cooking's fun, man. The flavors, just
There's meditation there too, man. I feel like cooking can be a meditation, just like fishing and gold mining and all these things.
Yeah, it's creative. It's like it's fun to do. It's fun to partake in. It's great to eat.
Well, and it's very similar to cultivation. It's like once you have the foundational skills, like with cooking, once you understand how to cook, it's like you don't really have to think about it. You can kind of just do it. If you understand how protein works and enough flavor, you don't need a lot of flavor combinations. But if you like chicken, you need to know what, things work, what terps work well with the chicken.
Yeah, good point.
Or beef or whatever protein you choose, or fish, and different methods for cooking. And it's really, it's that simple. And meal prep, it's like portion size. For me, it's portion size. So we do portion control. So I'm looking at 4 ounces of protein, and I want, I look at my macros, and I'm actually measuring out macros and making sure I hit my targets. So I'm getting enough calories in every day. But I also am trying to not gain weight, because I used to be real heavy.
Well, I was watching some podcasts from a while back, and you look a lot different. You look younger. You look, I was like surprised. Whatever program you put yourself through, it's worked
more
great.
Stress, more weed, all that good stuff. That's the secret.
Stress. I love it.
Yeah. And stress will do that to you. I feel like stress is one of those things, like if you give into it and you know that it's going to be stressful no matter what, you're going to be a lot better off than if you try to fight the stress and you freak out over the stress. It's going to kill you. Right. So there's a certain point where you just got to give into the fact that it's going to be tough and difficult, and you're going to have to make difficult decisions, and life isn't going to be easy. you're going to be okay, right? But if you start stressing out over it and feeling the effects of it, your blood pressure is going to go up, you're going to gain weight, you're going to have inflammation, your cortisol is going to be high. But and I think there's something to be said for microdosing. That's a big part of my life too. And smoking cannabis to relax. Doing these podcasts is really like therapeutic too, for whatever reason.
But it is. It must be fun. You get to go meet with new people every week and explore topics and ideas and share it with the audience out there. You've got a great audience. It looks like it's very people that are very serious about their cannabis.
And people that are able to give me a different perspective. They look through a different lens, but it's a similar lens, right? So we all love cannabis, and that's the similarities. And it's not where the similarities stop, but it's also just this beautiful focal point that we can talk about. And then everything conversation-wise spreads out from there.
Good point. Look at our conversation here. We covered a lot of topics besides cannabis. That's what's fun about getting high and talking to people. You just flows. It goes. One of our strains, the purple candy cane, this is a kind of funny story.
Yeah.
It's purple candy cane, but that was the one that won second place and then third place 2015-16 at the Emerald Cup. So it was a kind of special strain. And that was when I was first starting to learn about, the terpene effects and stuff. And so it had a high amount of myrcene. It was like 1.5% myrcene. Mm-hmm. And Alec, who you had on a couple episodes ago, was talking to me about the myrcene years back and how it kind of helps your body intake the cannabinoids through the blood-brain barrier kind of fast, perhaps, because myrcene kind of allows the penetration through the blood-brain barrier kind of fast with the whole cannabinoid effect. So it gives you a fast head high. And next thing you knew, like we renamed it Storyteller, because to watch people smoke this and all of a sudden start telling stories, it was classic.
Wow.
The first day we did it, it was the first time I ever had the flower come off. It was dried, cured, ready to smoke. We got the bong on the table. My friend Steve, who's an old Vietnam vet, was up there helping me that day. And he consumed a lot of cannabis to help him with PTSD problems and get some sleep and rest at night and stuff. So I let him take this bong hit first. He takes this bong hit. I couldn't wait to smoke this stuff. This flavor just seemed like it was going to be so delicious.
Right.
Next thing you knew, he went into the gnarliest storytelling rant that just went from story to story to story. And I'm starting to think like, man, am I ever going to get the bong back or what here?
Wow.
And he catches himself after about 20 minutes. He's like, man, what just happened? Like, here, take this thing. So I did it. I didn't expect, that to happen. But all of a sudden I was just talking like crazy for 20 minutes when I finally realized like, whoa, what the heck is even going on right here?
Yeah.
And so both of us now recognize like, geez, this is like a weapon.
Yeah.
We had 2 more people coming by that day and it did it so bad to them with They told the funniest stories and we knew it was going to happen to them.
Nice. We need to get that for the podcast. Every guest gets it.
You got some in the bag too. That's the purple candy cane.
Oh, that's fantastic. All the guests beware. We got purple candy cane coming for you.
Watch what happens.
I love that. So if you had one piece of advice for your younger self, what would that one piece of advice be?
James, it's kind of funny. I'm real happy with what I did as a kid growing up. I wouldn't want to change a lot of things. I'm real happy with the way I went through life, the decisions I made.
Yeah.
Once I found cannabis, it made me also very conscious to other people. Mm-hmm. And that's something I really makes me feel good, is to try to be a good person to everybody I'm around, no matter where they're coming from, no matter what they might have said or offended me, or it doesn't matter.
Right.
Just try to be a real good human towards other people. And so I kind of wouldn't change a lot and stuff in my life. I give my mom a lot of credit to being that kind of person, to really show me a good way in life and how to be kind to people and stuff. And it's now in life that I find myself wanting to give myself advice of being like I was when I was younger. Keep working hard, stay focused and dedicated, enjoy life and all this stuff. And so I don't have I wouldn't change much of anything growing up.
Nice. So if people are looking to find more about Mark or Greenshock Farms, where's the best place to go?
Thank you, James. We're just redoing our website right now, so we'll have a new kind of improved website coming in about a month. My Instagram's kind of falling apart. I don't have my own password, credential information to even enter my own Instagram right now. It's been a mess of a story with the person running it, what they kind of left me with. And then, some of these things I'd want to promote a little bit is the genetic side of things, where people can grow any of the genetics, that I have,
Yeah.
that Johnny and Jason have out there. We're all sharing these right now with Zenetics. And then I'll be over at ICBC this year with Segra. I think we're doing a co-sponsor there and taking these genetics over to Europe to share them with all the people that they can ship them to from over there.
Nice.
So just trying to get the plan out. And
you better come to Mary Jane with me in Berlin. I'm looking forward to it.
I'd love to. What is that? ICBC, and then that Mary Jane is like a month later?
It's about a month later. It's, I believe, June 9th, 10th, and 11th for Mary Jane. And I'm doing a big party there with friends. So
I couldn't be in a better spot than that at that time. Then I'll try to make that event.
Yeah.
And then also with you, James, we've been talking a little bit about some collaboration projects together, and I'd love to work those out with you and get what we can make together to the people too. And
for sure. Yeah, getting some seeds on the website. I think there's all kinds of potential. Yeah. Getting some clones on the website. I mean, I'm ready.
Any of them that you tell me, you go through that stuff, find your favorite ones, and you let me know. We'll get you those clones, and we'll get them out to people and start working together on just doing what we can to service this industry.
I love it. Yeah, and thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. It's been a really great episode. I knew it was going to be from the moment we started hanging out. I wanted to get you on a podcast. So thank you very much.
It was an honor to be here and sit in this seat. I've watched so many cool people that I really admire sit in this seat. So it's good to be here myself. I did want to ask you, what kind of wood is this?
This is, I believe it's redwood.
A beautiful slab of wood to sit here next to, and just, so it's a beautiful studio. Coming in here was amazing to see everything you got going on. This is a cool location you have. And so thank you guys very much. I'm honored to be here.
So thank you so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure. We'll see you soon, James.
Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you guys very much for your support. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe down below.